Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls Podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, characters, themes, theories, and more. Today's bonus episode is taking a break from our usual ACOTAR deep dives for an all things ACOTAR bonus episode. Plus Maasverse, plus some Airbender, plus, well, hey, this is a fun episode here where we're just kind of rolling a whole bunch of fantasy stuff into one. We're going to have so much fun with the one and only Daniel Alexander.
We are so excited to have Daniel on today's show. You'll recognize him on social media as DALECSANDER99. The crone is another word he's known by, and he is an absolutely amazing content creator with all of his fantasy satire.
Before we begin this awesome conversation, please listen closely to our content warning. While this episode focuses on the entire ACOTAR series, we couldn't help but talk about big things in Crescent City 3, House of Flame and Shadow, and we refer to plot points in the Throne of Glass series here today too. So, spoiler warning for all of the Maasverse.
So if you didn't know that these 3 book series are a multiverse, surprise! If you've read them all, you're fine, but we will be discussing the crazy, the confirmed, and crack theories galore.
Next, as always, this podcast is rated R. We of Fantasy Fangirls are adults who say adult things with adult words.
We do a fuck, marry, kill this episode, and boy, oh boy, do we get into our reasons for choosing our bang, bang, bangity bang pick. So please be mindful of little listening ears.
Last thing before we jump into our ACOTAR bonus episode here with Daniel.
If you love Fantasy Fangirls and you are loving this ACOTAR journey, if you want more content, more community, more events, and a book club, discounted merch, early access to ad-free episodes, and more, please check out our Patreon. We have 2 tiers, the Valkyries for $5 a month and the High Fae for $10 a month.
Join the party at patreon.com/fantasyfangirls. The link is also in our show notes or YouTube caption, depending how you're watching. And really and truly, thank you so much for supporting the show and supporting Nicole and I. It means the absolute world as we make this our livelihood.
And now it is time to have some laughs, have a chat about ACOTAR with the one, the only Daniel Alexander. Welcome, Daniel, to the Fantasy Fangirls Podcast.
Hey guys, it's so good to be here.
We're so excited to have you on. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel.
So my name's Daniel Alexander. That's what I go by on most of my platforms, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much everything else there. I've been doing content creation for about 4.5 years now, and only really recently, in the past year or so, have I dedicated myself to booktok and bookstagram and all the book stuff. And I think most people will have caught me through my ACOTAR rereads and ACOTAR, I guess we'll call it spoofs. So, I've always loved reading. I've always loved books. Sarah J. Maas is one of my favorite authors. And so reading her stuff has been great for me, and I get to make content from it.
I will say one of my favorite videos on the internet, full stop, is All the High Lords Go to Therapy, because I cannot tell you how many times I've rewatched that video. It is amazing.
I was very proud of that video.
It's so good. We're going to kick this episode off with just going through all of I'm going to call it the superlatives of ACOTAR. And we're going to start with just a good old-fashioned favorite character. And Daniel, as our guest of honor, how do you feel about kicking us off? Who is your favorite ACOTAR character?
I'd be happy to. I love Amren. I have loved her from the moment she was showcased. I know people can't stand her, but she is easily one of my favorites. Both from the beginning of just her first introduction. I love finding the character who's scarier than the main boss, but who's just you know what, you handle this. I'm lazy. I want my nice pretty necklace and my jewelry, and I'm the terrifying one. You go be in charge.
I do love her. I'm super scary. I'm a mini monster, but also give me jewelry. That is such a vibe, and I'm so here for it.
The blood ruby scene cemented her as one of my favorites.
So good.
She uses that as a paperweight.
I'm rereading the book series. My husband's reading them for the first time. We're listening to them together. And we just got to the part where Varian walks into the war camp, sees Amren, makes out with her, and she just koala bears onto him and walks out, and then they go fuck for several hours, and I'm could not have been more perfect.
We did a recent fuck, marry, kill for, I think it was our Patreon live Q&A or something like that, and Varian was one of them, and I chose him as the fuck because if he can handle Amren, then he can handle anybody.
That's so real. Now, that's a good point. That's a great point.
All right, Nicole, what about you? Who's your favorite character?
Obvious answer is Reese, because he's my number one shadow daddy in my heart. He makes me weak at the knees. But I'm also going to throw in Feyre. The more and more we do the deep dive, the more and more I have more appreciation for her. I feel like of the SJM women, she kind of takes a little bit more of a backseat just because she's not as forward as the other two. But I really enjoy her like confidence, her strength, her artistic eye. But I'm also going to have to throw in the Surreal, because who doesn't love a walking Google who just spills tea and then yeets on off the pages? Like, in my normal fashion, I can't just give one answer. There's my top 3.
In that vein, I want to also offer Alice as just a fantastic character.
Yes.
The scene with her in ACOMAF and Feyre together was just...
Oh my
She's
God.
so I love that so much.
She's the only one who sees everything and like gets it. She was phenomenal.
I was just going to say, in our ACOTAR deep dives, she's in charge of onboarding. She's like, all right, like, here's the lowdown. Here's how the company works, all of that kind of stuff. She's able to like actually give more information, or at least she just does give more information than anybody else.
That scene where it's like, Feyre is like, you're always welcome in my home. And she knows which home she means, was just,
yes.
It feels about that.
And then when she's like, and then in Aka War, when she's like, okay, well, what about wearing this? And it's the night court thing. And she's like, oh, how dare you say that? And Alice is like, yeah, okay, whatever.
What about you, Lex? Favorite character?
I think Cassian. Cassian is my main bat boy. And I also just think that extends to my favorite character too, because I love his sense of humor, his ability to recognize what his loved ones around him needs. Like in that moment, like his separate relationships with each individual is so beautiful in its own way. And I think a lot of that is just like what he brings to the table and what he knows that each of those characters need in the moment and overall. And he's just like a sexy, misunderstood warrior. And I love that. Cassian's friendship with Feyre is so sweet. And his support for Nesta, like through her whole epic self journey, like especially like the mountain and how they just like hike for like 4 or 5 days in silence. And it's really like he always knows what she needs and what Feyre needs and what everybody needs. So I love him.
It's the kind of hiking I like to do is in complete silence. I'm like, don't talk to me. I just want to put one foot in front of the other and pretend I'm not dying.
Yep, me too.
All right, we got to go least favorite character. Daniel, do you want to kick us off?
I want to go last because y'all are going to hate me for it.
No.
All right.
I'm so curious.
Okay,
All
so
right, Lexi, you go first then.
So without counting the obvious villains, just, it shows how much fun the series is when it's hard to choose the least favorite character. But I'm probably going to have to go with Papa Archeron, because while I give him credit for sailing in and helping save the day in ACOWAR, I was just rereading the part in ACOTAR where Feyre returns home and her dad is just so happy. And I found myself so mad at him because he's such a shit father when his daughters needed him most. And now that everything's all wonderful and sunshine and rainbows, now he's great. And it's just like, that just rubs me the wrong way. But if I'm choosing among like our more central characters, I might have to go with Mor. It's not like because I dislike her, but just out of all of the characters that we know and we love, I get the most, I'll say, irritated with her. The way that she's led Azriel on for 500 years. I have some words for her about that. Yes, I understand she has her secrets and she's absolutely entitled to keep those and share them with her. She's ready. But I feel like she's stirred up a lot of unnecessary drama for centuries. And I also just don't understand her power. Like, what does the power of truth mean? I don't understand it. And
there are theories about that.
Oh, I want to hear them.
No, we'll go into that. Trust me.
Okay, sounds good.
I have to go Elaine. Elaine, I don't know if it's because her personality is just not quite there on the page as much as her other sisters. But she's also just, and this is also very much influenced by the fact that we're covering ACOTAR right now. She's just not very observant of her surroundings. She literally we're covering episode 6 next, and in her like time at the human realm, Feyre is talking to Elaine, and Elaine's like, you know what? The cottage wasn't that bad. I kind of miss it. And I'm like, yeah, Elaine, because you didn't do fucking shit in the cottage to do anything to keep your family alive. Feyre even says, like, I don't even think Elaine knows truly how poor she is. And I 100% think that these are influenced by the fact that we're covering ACOTAR. I know my feelings are going to be changed with the next book most likely being heavily Elaine influenced. Just knowing Sarah J. Maas, her writing, she knows how to redeem a character in my eyes. Look at Nesta. But I can't stand her right now, and I'm really mad at her for being such an idiot. Like,
all right, Daniel, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Are you going to cancel Fantasy Fangirls here or what?
And not stand Azriel how he has been shown. He has been throwing a pity party for the last 500 fucking years, and I'm sorry.
No,
we
sorry.
Get it.
I'm loving
Your
it.
brothers were terrible to you. You're like stepmother was a twat. You are gorgeous and tall and powerful and live in fucking paradise. And you have so many abilities. And I get it. It's awful not to have more. But move on, my guy. Move on. Yes! He likes women.
We appreciate Azriel, but we are also, whenever we're asked, about like, especially like, fuck, kill, marry, bat boys, like Nicole and I are both like, yeah, we'd kill Azriel.
Heartbeat.
And they go up in arms against us. And it's like, I'm sorry.
I 10 words throughout the entire 5 books. Like, I don't know.
We had more of him in House of Flame and Shadow than we've seen at all.
It is wild.
I like how he is. I like how he's protective of Feyre as well. Yes. But he would be the most clingy fucking partner you will ever see. And the literal, like, imagine just fucking you go outside at night and the goddamn shadows tell your boyfriend that you've left the house. It would be awful. It would be terrifying.
I also want to throw out that the fact that SJM has mentioned that Azrael's a freak in the sheets. And like, he is just going to be like all kinds of wackadoodle. And I'm like, but where is his personality outside of the bedroom? If we're only getting personality in the bedroom, I'm going to be like, really? Darn it. I won't be entirely too mad because at least we got
I was going to say.
But still. Okay.
I'm in safe company here.
You are in safe company, yes.
I like him. It's the friend who's like, look, dude, you have far too much going for you to be this upset about anything. Like, everyone's traumatized. It sucks for everybody, but you're in a nice house. Like, perspective.
I also love that he shoves Feyre off of a cliff and he's like, fly, like, enjoy. Well, while Cassian's like, okay, you put your foot here, you like here's how he teaches her how to fight. And Azriel's just like pushes her off the cliff.
Like a mother bird. Just.
Well, he did share that nice story, though, that was very inspiring for Feyre.
Only after, I think, numerous attempts where she flew into a tree.
That's her own fault. That's not. I will say, I'm starting to defend him a little bit here. That's not his fault. That was her fault.
Yes. How dare she not know how to fly as a human who's never had wings? I'm getting hyphy.
Oh, man.
Alrighty. Ranking the book series. So all 5 books that are currently out are 4 and a novella. Are you one of those people who don't count the 4th book?
No, I'll say there's 5. I mean, it was the only thing it was missing to make it a Christmas special was like the one Jewish friend, but it was 5. It's fine.
Next novella.
Next novella.
The only thing that was fucking missing was like Amryn having a Hanukkah in her window. That would have made it a Christmas special.
My freaking wish. Daniel, how would you rank the 5 books?
I do love Mist and Fury the most. That's like my favorite one. From there, I'd say Silver Flames. That one really like brought Nesta to me. I was her number 1 hater. And I think Silver Flames really redeemed her in my eyes. I'd say ACOTAR is a good 3rd. ACOWAR is 4th, only because I want to see Feyre go apeshit. And we didn't get that. We got the other sisters going apeshit, but like I think in terms of the delivery of Feyre as like a warrior and someone who did train very well, we didn't get that there. But I still cried in that book too. I sobbed through a bunch of the scenes, and then I would put the Christmas special as my least favorite. Yeah. It's only because it wasn't actiony. Yeah. Like it was very cute, but it felt like I was watching an episode of Frasier. Which I actually don't mean that as an insult. I love Frasier, but like it was that compared to the rest of the action that we see in the rest of the series.
What about you, Lex?
Let's see. Of course, ACOMAF, like Mist and Fury, that's just one of my all-time. That is a book that really got me into romantasy for sure. Second place, I'm going to have to put it as a tie between ACOWAR and Silver Flames. I really did love ACOWAR for the plot and the politics. Like I love those elements of it. I'm a huge Song of Ice and Fire nerd. And so like I kind of love seeing like that sort of plot like play out. Not that sort of plot, but you know what I mean? Like those more elements of it. And then Silver Flames for the character development. Like that is just like the best written book for character development, from like going to literally hate a character to rooting for her. And I just absolutely loved all of that for Nesta. So that's tied for second. Third place, I'm going to put ACOTAR. Definitely gaining more appreciation for it as we deep dive it for all the foreshadowing and laying the groundwork. And then fourth place, it's just under ACOTAR, is The Frost and Starlight. I love it on a reread because I really hated it the first time around. Like Nicole had to it took me longer to read that book than it took me to read both of the previous books, ACOMAF and War. And Nicole's just like, you got to get through it. You got to get to Silver Flames. It's like, But anyway, but on a reread, I really love it because it's sweet. It has such sweet moments in it. And it serves as such a great bridge between the two bigger stories. But the way that Tamlin's redemption arc from ACOWAR, like be happy, Feyre. And it just took a total nosedive. And it makes me really cringe. And I think that I have a whole spiel about all of that, but the way that was represented in Frost and Starlight, I really did not like.
I think actually, Daniel, yours and mine is almost identical. I just have one tied that you ranked number 2 and 3. So mine, of course, number 1 is ACOMAF. It is the book that got, just like Lexi said, it's the book that got me back into reading. For me, ACOTAR and Silver Flames are tied. Right now, I have ACOTAR ever so slightly above Silver Flames because just the more we deep dive it, I'm like, oh, this is actually a really good book, no matter the hate that it gets on the internet. Silver Flames, yes, because of the smut, but because of, like you guys saying, the character development. Also, you read the Maasverse and then you go back and read Silver Flames and you're like, oh shit, she's got this. Like, it is wildly layered. ACOWAR, because of the same reasons as you, Daniel, I really have a hard time with ACOWAR because Feyre, she has the power of all 7 High Lords. And then we don't get to see any of that on the page, which I think was I won't say any. We don't get to see that in a big battle sequence other than her like fixing the cauldron. And even then Rhys has to come and help her fix it. And it just it really took a downfall for Feyre and my appreciation for her magic and her character. And then Frost and Starlight, because literally everyone's like, this King of Hybern, Koschei. And this is the big bad is, what do I get Rhysand for Christmas? It's just, it is not the same level of stakes, but it does perfectly set up Silver Flames. You can't go from ACOWAR to Silver Flames without having Frost and Starlight in the middle. I have spent so much of my life trying to figure out how to stay efficiently hydrated. We all carry around those massive flippin' water bottles. You've seen mine on YouTube, but healthy hydration is not about drinking only water. It's about water and electrolytes. And it makes sense. You lose both water and sodium when you sweat, which I do. I'm a human being, not a robot. Both need to be replaced to prevent muscle cramps, headaches, and energy dips, but most people only replace the water.
Drinking beyond thirst can actually dilute blood electrolyte levels, which leads to headaches, low energy, cramps, confusion, or worse. The solution obviously isn't to stop drinking water, though. It's to drink water plus electrolytes. Enter Element. Element is an electrolyte solution that has enough sodium, potassium, and magnesium to get you feeling and performing your best. Plus, my favorite part is that it has 0 sugar, artificial colors, or other dodgy ingredients to hold you back.
I, no joke, was blown away by the sheer amount of Element flavors. I got to drink.
There's something for everybody.
We're talking chocolate. We're talking watermelon, mango chili. This episode is brought to you by grapefruit salt, actually. You are, no matter what, guaranteed to find an Element flavor that you love.
Element came up with a fantastic offer for our listeners. Just go to drinklmnt.com/FFG to get a free sample pack with any purchase. Thank you, Element.
All right, we got to go favorite theory. And Daniel, I'm dying. What is this more theory that you've got?
So this is something that I have very little proof for. I've just heard of it like in the ether and floating, in that Mor's power isn't like being able to discern truth, it's to objectify it. So in the sense of like, she's reality warping. She's literally dictating what is and what isn't truth. It's a minor thing. It could just be the way the dialogue was going. But like whenever she mentions a bit of her past, people rush to agree with her on it. So you see that in her discussion with Eris, how all the males that she lives with can't stand him, but he himself implies there was more to it. And so it might be a subtle like emotional manipulation or just like small scale reality warping. I have very limited proof of that, and I haven't seen much delivered other than that. But it's the fact that her family was so strong that at one point they were the ones who were the High Lords of the Night Court. It was her line that was actually in charge of the Night Court, and I don't really see that being possible without extreme offensive capabilities. And being able to sort of manipulate people in that way might be one of the options. But my absolute favorite theory, and this does, I know we said, arguably spoiler warning for Throne of Glass, it's that the cauldron is actually covered in word marks. So it describes symbols there that, like unknown symbols that are literally inscribed on the cauldron, and like, oh, those are word marks. That's like my first thought. There's also the one that the Illyrian markings are also a form of word marks. So their tattoos for like luck and stuff are word symbols. But the one that
they paint on there. Yes. Yeah. Okay, keep going. Yeah. Yes.
That comes from the mural too. I don't know if you remember that scene where Feyre sees the mural.
Yes, I talked about that. Yes, about like how it was like this like ancient Fey language, and I actually tied it back to spoilers here for House of Flame and Shadow here, where it was the ancient Fey language is what Amryn said that this language hasn't been spoken in 15,000 years.
I think that's word marks.
No, exactly. I think I think more than that, humans aren't native to Prithian. That was another one that I pulled from there because humans aren't depicted on that tapestry at all. I know that the Fae originally had a master, like another master species that they called the Daglin. And so we've technically had it confirmed. If we were going to put the link in spoiler one, we had it confirmed that those are the Asteri. We know the Asteri crossbreed their peoples, and we know that they bring peoples across the worlds. And I think the fact that there's literally no evidence of humans on the tapestry isn't like, oh, we neglected them. It's the fact that like the Asteri actually brought them in, or something brought them in to allow the Fae to lord over something so they wouldn't rebel. Yep. In that vein, also, we see a description, I think this is more ACOTAR, where in a description, I think that's where we get the first mention of the Daglin. We get a description of their beasts that I think drew their chariots, or some creatures that they used, and the description is very similar to Reese's animal form. And so we know that there's crossbreed. We know that they bred for certain shapeshifter traits. We know that we've seen that. So I think they actually bred the High Lords because they're, these are the beings that have these special animal forms that they bred. So there's been like a ton of stuff where I've been going apeshit with Crescent City, but yeah, mostly just like that tapestry was everything there. I love it.
Oh my God, I love that.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yes, we are all about the theories.
So there's a line in ACOTAR. It's when they're in the Court of Nightmares, and Kier is talking to Reese, and he basically says something about like Thur's daughter is like wreaking havoc again, and it's like that's it. Like, and then they go off into another topic. If you Google Thur's daughter, I can't remember her name, but then if you Google the meaning of her name, it means fury. And I was like, like,
oh shit. Good catch. Yeah, I didn't know that.
It was prompted by a TikTok. I'm so sorry. I don't know who it was originally. I will put it in the show notes if I can find it. But yeah, that moment, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Sarah. Lexi, what's your favorite theory?
Well, as far as ACOTAR goes, definitely that it's more canon than anything at this point, but that the three Archeron sisters are indeed descendants of the ancient Fae warrior that the bone carver was talking about. Nesta is definitely going to resurrect, I'll call it, the Dust Court. And I don't know if it's like the High Lady of that, but like there is some queenly element of her. There is way too much foreshadowing of her being a queen in her own right. And I do think that she will have that actual title in some way, shape, or form. And it will maybe specifically be tied to the Dust Court, the 8-pointed star, all of that when it comes to Nesta. Just like, I love those theories.
I have been writing the whole Archeron sisters have some Fae ancestry since the beginning of the book, and I want to point out something. When it comes to Elaine specifically, it always describes how people just fall in love with her. They love her for who she is. They love how kind she is. That's a glamour. That is definitively what Fae magic glamours are. It's making people see you as less threatening and more likable. And so obviously I don't think she's doing it purposefully, but I mean, even the Cauldron fell in love with her. Spoiler again. Yes. Like, the whole point is the Cauldron gave to Elaine because it loved something in her, and then Nesta stole something and it made it angry. Yeah, so that's why I know that a lot of people don't like Elaine, but I have a lot writing on her being really cool. I think I would love to see Elaine as a villain.
Please convince me otherwise. I want to like Elaine. Like, please convince me otherwise.
Era's an unreliable narrator. This girl was focused exclusively on herself, keeping her family alive. And yeah, I mean, Elaine was a bit busy gardening or whatnot. Not any crops, but like flowers.
Yeah, I go on a whole rant about that too.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if Elaine is Lucian's equal, according to the mating bond, that says something. Yeah. And also, I love it.
Fucking love Lucian.
I do too.
I want to see my boy Lucian have a happy ending. That's like one of the reasons I want to fight for Elaine. I am the more and more I read, the more and more I'm really liking Elaine and Lucian ending up together and their mating bond. But like them, like I think you mentioned it, Lex, like falling in love together despite the mating bond, where it's like it's actually her decision to fall in love with him rather than just like, you're my mate.
Yeah.
I want that for them because Lucian is the best character and he gets just done so fucking dirty in the last 3 books.
I do want that. I would also be totally okay with Elaine essentially not choosing anyone and coming into her own self and like almost like having to like love herself too, just because there is like
I would
something
find
along those.
Cop out. I agree. I see where you're coming from. I think that would be such a cop out.
Yeah, where she just finds love for herself, and then Lucian can go be with Vasa.
Okay, I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
In my mind, Vasa's like ancient. I know she's not actually. I think it's just my own headcanon. Like, she is actually, like, looks Lucian's age. But I want Lucian to be with his mate. I want it to be a love story at the end of the day so badly.
I'm going to be able to guess what your favorite theory is, but lay it on us.
I mean, I have two because I can't ever pick one. Number one is definitely all the Archeron sisters become high ladies of a court. So Nesta, Dusk, Elaine, whether that's day or spring, there's a bunch of things. Obviously, spring.
Oh, duh. Oh, my God. The day thing just clicked for me. Okay, yeah, sorry.
No worries. I don't know how that would work because there's so much foreshadowing for her being at spring. I do not think that would be at Tamlin's side in the slightest. And then obviously Feyre at High Lady at night. My other favorite theory is my spices theory. And Daniel, buckle up, Buttercup.
There we go.
So in ACOTAR, Feyre is describing being in her father's office and how there's like these just like beautiful spices and all the spices and blah, blah, and how there's also people in there who have these foreign accents, and it's just a very mysterious thing. And then you get into Akamath and it's all Valaris spices, these exotic spices. And there's mention how there's always trade. So my headcanon here is that Papa Archeron was somehow in the Prithian spice market. I do not think he ever went to Valaris by any means, because that's like the secret and whatever. But he had some kind of spice merchant get him spices, and then that's how he got that was like part of his business, was selling spices to the rest of the continent, which hence the accents from people in the rest of the continent coming to the human realm on the Prithian island. Basically, it has no consequence. It has no meaning for the rest of the story. It's just Papa Archeron was in the spice market in Prithian.
I love it. I support that. That's great. I mean, technically, the spells that are around Valaris, I don't know how you guys like to pronounce it, they do make the merchants excellent liars. It mentions that it goes to enabling the merchants to be able to obfuscate and hide how they got their wares. In that vein with the spices, the restaurant that they all go to where Feyre's, that was definitely an Indian restaurant. You can fight me on that. That was,
yes.
It was so good. That was definitely an Indian place.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I did not think about it with the merchants not like being super good liars. So if Papa Archeron is just a super good liar and he's actually going up to Valaris, I'm super about that. Or if he just has his like wingman.
But it's like a spell on him where it's like he can go there, but when he comes back, like he doesn't. Yeah. It's like glamored where that's not the case. And he doesn't remember
I don't know if he doesn't
or something like
that. The way Reese describes it is he's talking about the High Lord who, he spilled his life's blood to make the spells around Valaris immortal. Double check me. I believe this is Akamath because I believe I just reread this. And it just says like it enables the merchants to be good liars. I don't know if it means that it literally hides their memory or if it just makes them better at lying.
I love it. We will be on that watch when it comes to the time for that deep dive there.
Really,
oh my gosh.
Anytime the word spices comes up on the page in any Maasverse, because it's also mentioned a lot in Tog, and I'm like, maybe he's working with Tog too. And I'm like, how would that work, Nicole? Let's calm down. I will just say spices in Maasverse is a very common word, but as Lexi said, it's also a great way of describing food. So
yes, it is.
We're going to have a fun debate now because when Nicole and I had our very first episode 1 of ACOTAR, we disagreed majorly with almost every single character's Hogwarts house. And so what we do when we do our deep dives is we always somehow bring in, figure out who each character's Hogwarts house is. And I understand it's been a while since you read Harry Potter, but you're familiar with the Hogwarts houses and the traits and all of that. Okay, first of all, Daniel, what is your Hogwarts house?
Yeah. I believe the last time I took the quiz, which was probably sometime in high school, I believe I got Gryffindor. I wanted Ravenclaw, but I got Gryffindor.
You and Nicole can go hang out in your Gryffindorness. Yeah. All right. Well, let's walk through this. Let's debate. Let's have some fun. Okay. And then Sarah J. Maas was once asked this question, and so she actually provided her answers. So we technically have an answer sheet.
Okay. Yeah, I know you put an element, but it said like, don't look down here, so I didn't read it. Yeah, okay.
Yep, there you go.
That's what we do. We put stuff in like in just white text if we're like, no peeking to hide each other from the outline. All right, let's start with Feyre. All right. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin.
I would have to say Gryffindor. I mean, she adventured, she she did the journey, she did the self-sacrificing. And I'd say her and Reese would both be Gryffindor.
Oh, interesting.
Oh. I mean, the whole, look, Ron almost, I actually do remember these books. Ron almost died in that chess match, all self-sacrificing. Harry is Harry. Hermione's the only one worth a fucking damn. I'm sorry. I would say based on that, they would both be Gryffindor, just the way they.
If Rhysand is a Gryffindor, I think he would be like more Hermione style Gryffindor, where he's like Gryffindor, wing, Ravenclaw. I'm going to actually go with he would be more Ravenclaw, wing, Gryffindor. But you make a really good point about the self-sacrificing.
I like that. I Well, with Feyre, I'm going to go with Gryffindor, but she's definitely got Slytherin in her. Like, I was thinking that she was a Slytherin from the get-go, and now with her self-sacrificing and like how she is, like she and Nesta are described as two sides of the same coin. So I think she's the Gryffindor side, and then Nesta is the Slytherin side because there are definitely some overlapping traits there. And so I'm going to have to go with her being like 75% Gryffindor, 25% Slytherin.
I don't think she could be High Lady of the Night Court without having any Slytherin. However, rereading ACOTAR, this example really stands out to me. She goes into Hybern's camp and she sees that Children of the Blessed just like on her last breath.
Yes, that is
and
true.
She's like, I need to save them. And that is such a Gryffindor MO right there. Like she is very Gryffindor. So I'm going to go less 75-25. I'm going to go like 90-10. Now, Sarah is going to throw a huge wrench in all of this. Sarah defines Feyre as a Hufflepuff / Slytherin, like a snake with a pom-pom tail. And I'm going to need some explaining.
Okay, I dislike that greatly. A snake with a pom-pom tail.
I don't see Hufflepuff. I do not see Hufflepuff at all.
Listen, I think that we as fantasy readers tend to be like, the brave, the smart, the cunning, everyone else with Hufflepuff, whereas Hufflepuff, I believe they're technically like the loyal.
Yeah.
They're like the kind and loyal. So it's like kind and loyal does fit Feyre's MO. I mean, she was very loyal to her family. One would say arguably to her own detriment in a way that I never would be. But I see Slytherin. I really do. I think it just be, yeah. Okay. I mean, don't love it, but oh well.
The snake with the pom-pom tail is really what gets me on this one, where I'm like,
I think I prefer more she's a lion with a snake tail. How about that? Can we all agree on that? There's like the tiny bit of Slytherin in there. I'm going to keep arguing she's got some Slytherin in her.
No, I think that's totally valid. We saw what he did in the spring court. Oh, that was not Gryffindor. That was
it was not cool at all. Not cool.
That's like a Gryffindor in their reputation era, is how I view that. Like that is a full blown look what you made me.
Gryffindor Taylor Swift.
Yes.
That's actually the one scene that I'll die defending, because a lot of people are like, she endangered innocent people in the spring court. She was terrible, and I was like, I'm sorry, if you get up there and say in front of the King of Hybern, like the High Lords of the Night and Spring Court, and go, I will fucking light your funeral pyres because of what you did to my family, and your response is, come home, sweetheart, I'm into it. That's on you, motherfucker. First of all, Tail had already allied himself with Hybern. Like, already, for whatever Feyre does is nothing compared to what Hybern's going to do to the Spring Court. Like, that was her taking out a political enemy, and in a way that actually didn't kill anyone, and like removed his ability to wage war. It was brilliant. Fight me.
Lexi, do you have anything to say on that? I'm with Daniel on this one.
I'm marinating on that. That's what I'm trying. I'm marinating on that because that is actually a really good point. Because, and then Tamlin comes through and he's like, well, no, because I was actually a good guy all along. It's like, dude, you don't get to say that.
From the Harry Potter thing, but I want to ask, do you guys want Tamlin to have a redemption arc? Do you care? Like,
let me step on my pedestal. Yes. So I feel like he got a tiny one, like I said earlier, in ACOTAR, like when he agreed to help Rhys. So, like that was the bare minimum, like teeny tiny. And then it just took a total nosedive. And so at this point now in the story, I don't know how there is any coming back from that with the redemption arc. Like, I feel like it's kind of run its course almost. Like, is there a redemption arc even to still have, or did it already go through and then fizzle out and die? I don't see Tamlin being able to bring back the Spring Court or like himself. So would I like it? Kind of, but I feel like the opportunity was already there and it was a little missed. Yeah.
I feel like the only way he can have a redemption arc now is if he dies. And
yes, that was my other thing too. Yes, he should have died in ACOTAR. He should have died. And that would have been a good redemption arc.
If you had asked me pre-deep dive ACOTAR, I would have been like, yeah, I want Tamlin to have a redemption arc. I don't know about now. Can
you guys remind me of the nosedive from Frost and Starlight? It's been a while since I've read that one specifically.
So Rhys goes to the Spring Court and just to kind of check up in on things and see how things are going, for lack of a better term. And Tamlin is alone in the Spring Court. He is in his beast form and basically prowling the spring lands and like he is just a waste of himself, basically. He's like fighting his own food, all this kind of, he's alone. He's so lonely.
He's completely alone. He's so bitter and hateful. And then once when you get to Silver Flames, like that just still continues, and everyone's like kind of coming to try to help him and all of that. And he's just like, no, fuck all of you, pretty
People
much.
are having like,
and it's just like
his lands, and he's like, get off my lawn. Like,
yeah, get off my lawn.
What I always felt was like, once we got Feyre in the Night Court, I don't think he's evil. I think he was deeply manipulated by, love, which was the whole point with why Rhys had such a problem, was like, I know he loves you. That's toxic. Like, Tamlin was never evil. He was misguided and stupid. And arguably, he did the same thing that Rhys would have done if Tamlin had kidnapped Feyre and like been an actual problem for Rhys to get back. He absolutely would have allied with Hybern. I fully believe that.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And to that point, I agree with you. And I think he would have done it because I also think that Tamlin doesn't always think through the consequences or own up to them or make big, bold decisions because he's just a half-assed kind of guy. And so I think Rhys would have done it, but he would have had so many strategies. So yeah, so like I would like he definitely that Ravenclaw in him where he is very calculating and all of that. So he would have done it, but it would have worked out very differently because he would have been 2 steps ahead, at least in his own mind, of Hybern, while Tamlin was just like, wait, what? He's a bad guy? Oh my gosh, all of this is happening and I had no idea that it would actually happen this way.
Consequences. You're so correct. I do this thing with my Patreon called Read the Room, which is an analysis of the books. It's been doing my own deep dive basically with the series. And one of the things that I do is Rhys and Tamlin are complete foils to each other. The whole issue is the way they approach Feyre. And Tamlin's whole shtick was, I have to protect people even from themselves, whereas Rhys was, I want to be able to protect things and help you be able to protect yourself. And I never hated Tamlin. I realized where he was coming from. But even with the way they run the courts, we see that like other courts don't do the tithe. Mm-hmm. Tamlin does because his father and grandfather and all the way back to like he had no interest in being High Lord and so was just going to stick to tradition, which is how it worked. Whereas Rhys had no interest in being High Lord but wanted to be better.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And it's very much, this is how things have always been because he also just doesn't have the ability to think ahead and even fathom what could possibly replace it. And it's just like, no, it's just easiest just to keep things the way that they are and then just bitch about it the whole time and then wonder why things don't work.
I fully respect to a degree, but sometimes you got to change.
And as to why he is the way that he is in Frost and Starlight and Silver Flames is because he lost Lucian and Lucian was his brain.
Yes.
And Tamlin was just a beast form without Lucian. That is my head.
The way that he treats Lucian too. That was another thing that really gets under my skin too. And poor Lucian, like the way that he like literally, it's like an ex. He just like dumps his stuff out on the manor. I think like that happens, and Lucian has to leave again. And it's just it's like, okay, you guys don't have to like kiss and make up, but it's sad rereading ACOTAR right now because you see, it is a friendship, especially like with all like these fun moments that they have with taking Feyre around, the spring court and showing her around and how they all like, they're like the three amigos sort of thing. And then it all goes to shit. And it's very much driven by Tamlin and his actions. So I've struggled finding skincare that properly treats my acne ever since I started getting it as a teenager. And the acne problems, unfortunately, have not stopped as an adult. And neither has my issue of finding the right treatment for my unique skin. It's flat out hard trying to figure out which skincare products actually work for my type of skin. And that is why we are so excited to partner with Apostrophe, the sponsor of today's episode.
Apostrophe's goal is to help you feel confident in your own skin. We love it. Whether you're dealing with breakouts, signs of aging, or acne scarring, Apostrophe will help you love the skin you're in. Apostrophe is an online platform that connects you with an expert dermatology team to get customized acne treatment for your unique skin. Through Apostrophe, you can get access to oral and topical medications that use clinically proven ingredients to help clear your acne.
I really love Apostrophe's user-friendly experience where it takes you through a series of easy questions about your skin. Then you take just a few selfies and voila! Shortly afterwards, afterward, a dermatologist creates a customized treatment plan designed just for you and your skincare needs and goals, then ships it straight to your door.
I love my apostrophe. Like, my apostrophe is a part of my daily routine every single day. And we have a special deal for our audience. Get your first visit for only $5 at apostrophe.com/FF when you use our code FF. That's a savings of $15. We love to see it. This code is only available to Fantasy Fangirl listeners. To get started, go to apostrophe.com/FF and click Get Started. Then use our code FF at sign up and you'll get your first visit for only $5. Thank you so much, Apostrophe, for sponsoring today's episode. Speaking of Tamlin, Hogwarts house for Tim and Tam.
All right.
I almost would you say Gryffindor?
No.
No,
Personally, I wouldn't. You are entitled to your own opinions.
Protecting, even to the person's detriment. His whole shtick is protecting. Like, he killed those Naga. He's the one who killed Amarantha. And my first guess would have been Gryffindor, honestly.
Okay, when you put it that way, I can definitely see that. I was going to say Hufflepuff, but not because I'm a proud Hufflepuff myself. So I say that very hesitantly. I'm going to have all the Hufflepuffs that come after me. But I think that it's because he's a Hufflepuff because he doesn't belong to any of the other houses. Like, Hufflepuffs, we'll take whoever doesn't fit into the other ones. I think that's more of him versus, I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit, versus Elaine, who I do think is a Hufflepuff because she embodies all of the great qualities of a Hufflepuff versus just kind of being leftovers.
Well, I would argue the loyalty for Hufflepuff. He is super loyal to those that he's super loyal to Feyre. He's not very loyal to his spring court because he literally lets Feyre go 3 days before the curse when she's about to tell him she loves him. And he's like, go be well. And Lucian's like, thousands of people are about to die. Like, are you fucking serious? So I think that he's Hufflepuff for that loyalty. But to your point, Lex, he's also Hufflepuff in the way that it's like, you're not witty like a Ravenclaw. You're not the brave elements of Gryffindor. And don't even get me started on Slytherin. I don't think he's cunning. Slytherin is like ambitious. He is no. Hufflepuff because he doesn't belong anywhere else, but also loyalty.
What does Sarah say?
Actually, I don't think she has Tamlin on her list. She only has the Night Court. That makes me
because he's not important enough.
That does remind me about Reese. Reese, she deemed Ravenclaw. Lucian, our boy, the Ravenclaw for him. Fox mask. That is my only that's my only piece of information, but Fox mask for that reason.
He has like the dark desire for revenge close enough to be Slytherin.
Ooh, I could see that.
Happily.
He's also cunning enough to be a Slytherin.
Yeah. I would say Slytherin.
I could dig that.
I like that. I was going to go with Ravenclaw, but I love that Slytherin-esque. Yep, I'm gonna change my answer here and go Slytherin too.
And I don't think Sarah has him on her list. Nope. Nesta.
Oh, Slytherin. That woman is cruel as fuck. She scares. Yeah. My issue with Nesta is the fact that if I met her in person, I desperately want her to like me, and she'd smell that and kill me where I stand. Like,
yes.
That's the problem. Is I'd want she is she is somehow the female version of a mean gay, is what she is. It's damn it, you're cooler than me, you're better than me. Stop knowing that, please. Just like me, and it wouldn't work.
Oh my god, that's perfect. All right, listen, I was super in Nesta is a Ravenclaw camp, but then I got a nice verbal beatdown by my friend who is a Slytherin. And she was like, what the fuck, Nicole? And she called me to tell me why she...
Don't give her my number.
Wait, did she hear us say that you say that she was a Ravenclaw and then she called on the podcast and then she called you? I know exactly what friend you're talking about here too.
She called me and she's like, what the fuck, Nicole? She gave me a 15-minute explanation as to why Nesta is a Slytherin. And after that, I was like, okay, I concede. Yes, Nesta is a Slytherin. So I will agree. Nesta is a Slytherin. And I think Sarah says that too. Let me check. Nesta would be Slytherin. Yep. We get confirmation from Miss Sarah J. Maas. Elaine.
Hufflepuff.
I think that's because
but again, none of the same reasons for Tamlin being a Hufflepuff. And because she's got that sweetness, everybody loves her, all of that great stuff. So that's what I'm saying.
Wasn't the herbology professor also head of Hufflepuff?
Oh, yeah. That's a great point. Yes.
I love
Also,
that.
George Girl's Hufflepuff is literally Huff Lip Huff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
You got to grow it, Although I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit mad at Professor Sprout right now after that actress just like obliterated all of us fantasy
Well,
lovers.
yeah,
So
that was-
whatever. Fuck you, bitch.
I still care. I remember reading
unnecessary
that.
thing.
That was so funny to me because it's the exact thing. She's a granny. It's like, it's exactly some granny would say. And I was like, clearly acting was just a job to her. Good for her.
Yeah. There's another one where she another recent thing where she said that she turned down a Marvel movie, first of all, because she didn't want to do anything else magic related, which is just like, wow, I'm glad I do not know you in person. And then second of all, because it was going to be located in Georgia and she hates America. So she didn't want to go to America for it.
Oh,
It's like,
British.
all right.
Also, I've been to Atlanta. Georgia's lovely.
Georgia is lovely.
They have
Right? Our mother's from Georgia. Like, it is very lovely
green
there.
as
Yes.
shit. There.
Aquarium is a selling point.
Yeah.
The sweet tea. Oh, sweet tea. Varsity. Oh, have you ever had a
Some good
varsity
friends in Atlanta.
burger?
So good.
Yes.
So good. Sarah J. Maas does also
yes.
agree that Elaine is a Hufflepuff in a shocking move. Now, to your point earlier, Daniel, if Elaine is just this glamoured version and deep down she's a Slytherin, I am here for that Elaine. That is the Elaine I'm here for.
I want this girl's getting freaking the future beamed directly into her skull at all times. Like, I'd be a little crazy too.
Yeah.
Her brain has been turned into a podcast essentially for fate itself. No, I want to see it. I just want to see her go a little crazy.
Oh, I would love
I think
to.
what could happen? Vasa might be like, no, Lucian's mine, and then she'll go crazy.
I'm down for that
Ooh.
version.
Well, I am down.
I'm down for a dark puff.
I would
Elaine.
love that.
Like a dark puff. That's what I'm down for. Cassian. How about Cassian?
I feel like I've been like running the Gryffindor line too much, but I mean, like, he's literally a general in an army. That's not Raven. He's lovable.
super loyal. He's so lovable. He's brave. Yeah, he's a Gryffindor through and through. I absolutely agree with you on that one.
I was convinced Hufflepuff, but I have been converted to Gryffindor believer for Cassian. So yes, I will also agree with Cassian being a Gryffindor. And I think, Sarah says Cassian would definitely be a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Azriel.
Which house is a whiny bitch again?
Arguably all of them. I think Gryffindor can take the cake for that one. For sure.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I freaking torturer, spy, Slytherin.
Oh, I was for the spy mastery. I was thinking Ravenclaw because he's super yes, he is calculated like a Slytherin and always thinking 5 steps ahead. So I think I might have to go Ravenclaw.
I don't know enough about this fucker to do anything. Going off of what I know, and honestly, this is mostly from House of Flame and Shadow info, I think I would also go Slytherin, actually. I think I'm going to go Slytherin as well because of the cunning, because of his teaching methods, I think also are very Slytherin-esque. I'm really...
Nicole, you're really hung up on him just pushing
If someone was like, oh, you don't know how to use your back wings, and push me off a ledge, I'd be pissed.
It's a really good thing I never taught you how to snowboard because I would have made you go down a hill and been like, all right, you got to figure it out. And that's how Allison, our cousin, broke her arm.
I was gonna say, how did that go? Oh, God. Sarah confirms that Azriel would be a Ravenclaw, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I think the ones that we did not cover, Amryn would be a Ravenclaw or Slytherin, she says.
Okay.
But she says, although I feel like she fits more of the role of headmaster. I can dig that.
That's fine.
And then Moore would be a Gryffindor, is the other one. Are you guys ready for Fuck, Marry, Kill?
I'm down.
I am so ready.
All right, let's start with the book 1 characters. And Daniel, you go first. Fuck, Marry, Kill, Tamlin, Lucian, Feyre.
Oh, I would have to say... Okay, we're killing Tamlin. That's obvious. Between Mary or what's it? Fuck and Mary. This is harder than
I know. I was sitting here thinking to myself,
Only because I hate the pregnancy trope. I'm marrying Lucian. I'll fuck Feyre.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
Lex, how about you?
I think I've got to go. Yep, kill Tamlin. I think I'll go fuck Lucian. And then Feyre, I'll marry her because she seems like a good, she's a caring wife. Okay. I'll go with her.
I'm going to also kill Tamlin in a shocking move. I'm going to marry Lucian mainly because I feel like he would be the loyalist motherfucker. And also, if you're fucking someone for the rest of your life, I want that autumn fire.
Oh, yes.
For the rest of my life. And then I'll fuck Feyre because Yeah, I'll fuck Feyre.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Why not? All right, the Bat Boys. Daniel.
I'm killing Azrael. Perish. Like, yeah, I'll fuck Cassian, and Reese I'm marrying just because I cannot afford a house in this country. So he has good real estate.
That's mine too. That is my exact same one right there.
Retweet round.
Yeah, all three of us. I'm right.
All right, last but not least, villain version. Fuck, marry, kill Amarantha, Highburn, or the Bone Carver.
And we kind of threw Bone Carver in there, and he was not necessarily a villain, but we needed somebody else who was not the adder.
That'd be painful.
Fair. Okay, I guess I'll pop off. So Hyburn's dying. That man's creepy looking. I guess I'm marrying the Bone Carver, and I don't even want to. Oh, I have a theory about him too. I guess I'm fucking Amarantha. If Reese can handle it, I guess I can too.
Wait, pause. What's your theory on the Bone Carver?
So hear me out. We see him whatever form he takes tends to perish. In the case of Cassian, he appears as a soldier in the army. I'm getting there, don't worry. He appears as a soldier in the army, and that was the number one casualty against Highburn. With Reese, he was Jurian, who, at the time was dead, or deadish. And then with someone else, I believe he may have been Lanthus. He may have appeared as he appeared as someone else who ended up dying. So we now see Nyx. But I don't think that's Nyx, because Nyx has wings.
What if it's their second child?
It could be. That's something like that too. I have to say, I will only care about Nyx if he dies. I hate this fucking baby. I hate this child.
After House of Flame and Shadow?
Yes, fuck this kid. Like,
oh my god,
asshole! You go from I'm 20, let's see the world because we're fucking immortal, to like put a baby in me now. Like, are you kidding me? Oh, and also let's tie our lives together, because what better way to like traumatize our friends and child than for both of us to die and orphan him?
That is definitely up. Like, again, I understand. I think we all understand the reasons why, because, they each saw each other die and blah, blah, blah. But absolutely, that was this, like, for two people who have worked so hard for everyone around them, sacrificed everything. It's like, really?
I did not think about it in the terms of a child. I am fucked in the head now. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I have two young children, a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. So while I'm not crazy about the pregnancy trope whatsoever, I love me some Daddy Reese. Oh my gosh. And House of Flame and Shadow, when he like smiled about like kind of thinking about his son, I melted. But I also understand that's also me and my personal experiences just being a mom too.
Excited to see how especially Cassian and Azriel are as uncles. I think that's going to be very sweet. But just the flip around from like I'm 20 and young to like put a baby in.
Yeah.
Especially
so
what it's like.
And I'm not saying I don't empathize with Feyre considering who her husband is, but just like it's one more thing to cause problems, and it's I don't like it.
I think it was too soon. That's my big thing. Yeah. It's like it was, because to your point in Mist and Fury, she's literally like, I don't want kids yet. I want to see the world. And then less than a few months later, because ACOTAR is not over the long span of time, she's like, I'm good. That was the world. We're done. And I'm just like, no. So, yeah.
I will say, because they went through all that trauma in ACOTAR and all of that, like, I get it. And yeah, it was a little too soon. Yeah. Well, she also just got pregnant. So, but I also wonder if, like, my theory is that because she had been human previously, it was that much easier for her to become pregnant. And so I think they also kind of didn't account for that, which I get it, Feyre. You take the training wheels off thinking that you're going to have to learn how to ride a bike. And then boom, you already know how to ride a bike. And that is why I was pregnant at my wedding.
That's a really good point. If I'm able to do a spoiler warning for Throne of Glass,
totally fine.
We know that Manon, whatever, she's half Crocan, right? So she could theoretically have male children, which means we could see an Iron Tooth Prince, which is something that I would live for. It is never going to happen. I'm so sorry, but that's just.
Don't you get my hopes up like that and then crush them with my daddy phantom hands? How dare you?
It's like imagine Dorian, but with like iron teeth and claws. I'm like, people are going to love that shit.
I would go feral for that person.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, I remembered. What the fuck is a High Lady? It has made no sense to me. Reese ordains her with a priestess. I know that we don't really know the priestess's magic very well, so it could be something to do with that. But does that mean we now have basically a magic made from all 7 courts that could pass to a child or pass through bloodlines? It doesn't make any sense to me that we know that High Ladies have existed previously, but we needed a High Lord to establish one. Unless it was some magic to bind her to the land of the Night Court. So now that this magic is formally of the Night Court and can pass through. So theoretically, We know that Rhys and Feyre die together. Does that mean that that Nyx would inherit both High Lord and High Lady powers, meaning he'd inherit his father's night magic as well as the full court system? It just, a High Lady doesn't make any sense to me right now, based on what we've seen.
I love the idea of Nyx being able to have all the powers, but also Rhys's.
It would mean his parents are dead, and I don't like that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I just like, I don't get, Rhys was dead set when he said, yes, there can be High Ladies, but we know the magic passes through bloodlines. It seems to prefer males almost exclusively because Moore's family ran it, and I believe Moore and Rhys were alive. They're within a couple of years of each other, so they were both alive when the previous High Lord died. So I don't get why it didn't pass to Moore, because her magic is so powerful too. So I have a lot to complain about the High Lady thing. Let's hear your theory.
Well, so I'm curious because I wasn't aware that when the High Lord dies, that like his exact magic passes along, but it's more of like the High Lordship like ties to the land because we also know that as you're growing up, it's almost like the land and the cauldron and like the court itself chooses who is going to be that, and they're I'll say gifted with all those extra powers. Okay. And so like that was the case for Tamlin, even though he didn't want to be the High Lord, like it was essentially chose him. And so I think that with Feyre, like, again, like she wasn't chosen by the Night Court, and therefore it is almost more of just a title versus an actual High Lady-esque. It's in name, but not in actual...
In magic.
Yes, thank you. Okay. It's not in magic. Now, I could also argue that because she was gifted some of Rhys's magic there, as she has with all the High Lords, does that mean that she could be capable of being High Lady of any of the courts because she does belong to all of them? I love that idea with the High Priestess when they were having like that ceremony there where it was like essentially binding her then to the Night Court because for her, it's more of she gets to choose because she has the capability of being High Lady of any of the courts.
I can accept that. It bothered me that like we know that they existed, but it seemed to require a male for it. It was
And so I'll say this again, that if Elaine was going to be High Lady of the Spring Court, I don't see her having a mate or a partner to be High Lord, because I don't see Lucien going back to the Spring Court after, I'll call it the ghosts of Tamlin that would be there. If she ended up with Azriel, which I know that so many people are standing them, I totally understand why. I do not see that being in game whatsoever. And I have my reasons why, but I do not see him by any means being a High Lord of a Spring Court. I also don't see Cassian being a High Lord of any court either, but especially Azriel and Spring Court. I mean, come on, like that's just silly.
I've also never seen someone escape the mating bond either. Like it's, even if they don't like the person, we know that like, Rhys's parents, Tamlin's parents weren't a match made in heaven, but they still got together. Like,
yeah. So that's where I think that if Elaine was going to be High Lady of the Spring Court, that is where she would do it on her own terms. And that would be her rejecting the mating bond and going and doing her own thing. But I also don't think she has enough, I'll say, oomph for High Ladyship.
Unless she goes through a Silver Flames level transformation in ACOTAR 6. I could see SJM pulling some of her redemption arc magic and making Elaine like this. I'm not going to say powerful she's not going to be a Nesta or a Feyre in like that confidence and bravery, but at least like stepping up to a leadership role. I could see that
being able to be like the leader of the people. Yeah. I could see that for sure, where she's able to, like, nobody is literally living in the Spring Court right now. So I could see her reviving it in the sense of making the people want to return back to the Spring Court because of her allure, you could say.
I can see.
I did see a theory that Azriel and Rhys's sister were actually mates. And so Azriel's already had a mating bond with, I can't remember, we don't ever learn her name.
We never know her name, no.
Because solely of the moment in House of Flame and Shadow where he's looking at Celine and he's like, she looks just like Rhys's, which the fact that was just brushed over, it makes me want to burn down buildings. I'm infuriated.
You've seen my rants surely on this book.
There's some of my favorite videos on the internet.
Yes.
I had such high hopes for that series, and I frankly need to apply to be her editor because I don't know what the fuck was going on with that, but I could have made it better. I fully believe I could have helped her make a better book. This is me being completely delusional. I have published exactly 0 novels. I could have helped her. I could have fucking helped her.
So we did get a listener email us, and I don't have it up here, but they said how Sarah actually rejects developmental editing, and she only allows, like, I'll say, like, grammatical kind of editing and whatnot. And so because she does not allow those bigger kind of edits, again, this is only hearsay. I do not have any valid sources for this, but that is a detriment for her because she knows that she's only the one in the driver's seat, and that's why this book was the way that it was.
I have a hard time reconciling. It's been specifically the Crescent City series where I think they delivered on a lot of things. I think they were very cool. I like seeing a modern fantasy mix that isn't on Earth. I can't stand I can't stand urban fantasy, but I read urban fantasy for a very different reason than I read high fantasy. And so her being able to make like a modern high fantasy, I really enjoyed. And I mean, the end of book 1, I think, of Crescent City made it worth it.
So good.
It was a long read. It was a lot of exposition. It was a lot of like info dumping, but I think the end of Crescent City 1 made it worth it.
Yep.
Crescent City 2 was a freaking slog.
The only reason I even finished that book was because I knew that the ending, like everyone was like, the ending is worth it. And like, it took me, I did not like that. I won't say I hated that book. I strongly disliked that book. And then the end of it, that last chapter was like my favorite chapter I've ever written, like I've ever read. And like the twists and the turns. And then that is what made me so hopeful for the third book, obviously.
But, yeah, right. People were banking on it, but I can't fathom. Okay. Sure. Let's go into this if you guys don't mind. Edit out anything you need to, please. Like,
I'm keeping this all in.
Ariadne, you name a character, you name a dragon after a character whose whole shtick was getting people through a maze and a labyrinth, the emotional turmoil. Like, there was a metaphor there. And then this girl goes, I'm free, bye. Okay. When I tell you, I would box Ethan Holstrom with I would bite him to death. I couldn't stand this fucking character. It was like trying to hurt cats, but what's worse than cats is trying to hurt frat boys. And did you know this man played fucking Sunball? I don't know anyone who doesn't know this man played Sunball because
wait, he played Sunball? Oh my God.
If this motherfucker was a Ken doll, he'd have a fucking Sunball t-shirt. Oh my God. What? The only cool thing he did was decapitate that other annoying bitch. Like,
yes. Okay. So here's my question. If you had to read only the POV of Therian or Ethan, who would you choose?
Okay, I'd have to pick Therian only because I find it hilarious that this man's problem-solving skills is offer my hand in marriage.
I think I will say this. I think that Therian, I could not tell you a single thing that he had done, and yet he's still somehow defected from 3 different queens. And it's like, why are you not more interesting? Like, why? Like, your resume is like checks all the boxes, and then it's you, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what a wet blanket of a husband. Like, no wonder she left him like so fast. I have dated Ethans before. I can handle Ethan. It's Therian who's just like, oh my God, like, I need you to go away.
Also, Jessica, this woman had the Book of Breathings, the book, was it The Walking Dead, the Book of the Dead, The Walking Dead, fucking every other interesting thing that could have made it possible. And then she goes, by the way, I'm an almost immortal sorceress cursed by the fucking Lord of Darkness. Bye. Fuck that. Like, oh my God, and then of course we get the Big Hero 6 ending and the Star Wars exposition dump. That is not my joke. Someone commented that on one of my videos. And they got like the Star Wars hologram info bit.
Yep.
What happened?
God. I was going to ask you about like the future books because I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how, like, is ACOTAR 6 going to kind of include the full Maasverse, or is that going to be the new series? So I want to hear your thoughts on that, but please finish your sentence.
Okay. I will get there. So I would have done this. First of all, Therian would never have been, if Therian would have been barely featured, he would have been just stuck with the Viper Queen, who I think is from Offworld, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, so she's described as her venom containing like poison as well as something else, something mysterious. She's described as opalescent in her Viper form, and the only time we see the word opalescent is to describe Adis's eyes. It's the only those two have the same. They're the only 2 color descriptions that are the same. So I think she's from hell or from another like dark world. I thought she was super cool. Also, she has the same hairstyle as Fury and Amarin, so I figured there might be a connection. But I would have ignored Ethan's entire story arc. I'm sorry. Your whole shtick is not being useful, and I think he was only used to showcase House of Flame and Shadow. But that was House of a Bar and office work. Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and then Hypaxia was so cool in book 1, and then she kind of fizzled out, and then all of a sudden she came back, and I was really excited to see her again. And then it's like, oh, you're supposed to be really cool, but you're not.
No, they made her fizzle out. The actual House of Flame and Shadow was literally like a sexy vampire bar, and then just was office work. It was just what Bryce was doing in book 1. It was annoying. First of all, we still haven't really had any explanations of the Demonaki and Draki, and obviously they're Demonborn and Dragonborn, but it's like, I want to know more. I want to know more on like all that. The Reapers were kind of cool. I like how she used the Reapers as the solution. I think that was well established. Like they're dead. They obviously don't have the parasite. I think the parasite was fucking dumb.
Oh my God.
There were so many other ways that it could have been. And
word marks. It should have been
It
word
should have
marks.
been word marks.
Even if it was like we used word marks to make the parasite, I would have been okay with that. It was just the fact that it's like the flu. Yeah, Ethan and Therian would not have been there. I did not care about Avalon. I don't know. We literally, like, our exclusive show. Bryce was just going through caves. That was her entire story arc. She was in a cave in Prithian, then she was in a cave in Avalon. She was briefly not in a cave, but she was in underwater in a submarine, which is arguably a floating cave. Like, it was... I just was so disappointed with this one.
I love the old Fae realm. Like I loved I'll say the lore around all of it, but the actual, I think that they could have done so much more because again, they were in the caves there, but it's like, wait, like this place like is actually pretty cool, but we didn't really get to see a lot of that.
I couldn't stand it because of how Bryce was in the cave. Like Bryce was one of like very quickly becoming one of my favorite SJM women in books 1 and I'll argue book 2 as well. And just plummeted to last place in book 3 because of how she treated arguably everyone. She took Asriel's emotional support dagger. I'm still furious about that. Like, I'm so angry. But because of how she treated Hunt in the caves is just like, and then it's like, everything was fine. They're married. They're good. And I'm just like, are you serious? What the fuck?
I would have been more than happy with Hunt dying. Also, I can't say he bores me to tears. I'm sorry. Like, how... You're 500 years old. No, 300, 200, maybe it's 200. I don't know. You're old. You're centuries old, and you still have the emotional and personality assuredness of me when I was 15. Like, even when it was like, oh God, I'm a prince of hell. It's like, no, you were like, I made the joke like you're like a stepson at best, but like you fought against like intergalactic slavery. You're not a bad person, like you should know this, my guy. Like if Rhys found out he was somehow a descendant of Maeve, it would have completely not phased him.
Do you think, okay, wait, can we pause here? Lexi, where are you in the tandem read right now?
Just don't even worry about it. It's fine.
So do you think that Rhys is a descendant of Volg?
No.
Me neither.
I hated that theory from the beginning. I also hated the theory that Amryn was an Asteri.
I love that theory.
Do you think that Fury is somebody from the ACOTAR world?
There are two options for this. One, Sarah has left clues that there are very incredibly powerful creatures that all seem to like the same hairstyle. Two, she has no idea what other hairstyle an Asian woman could have.
Oh God. But the short black hair, it's a thing.
Yeah. The bob cut, which I love. It's a great hairstyle, but like Fury, Amryn, and Viper Queen are all Asian coded characters that have that. I'm hoping it's a reference to some connection, or it just means she's really bad at writing Asian characters. When it comes to the Asteri thing, though, it just bugged me because I knew she was an angel from the beginning. It was very easy to catch because I went to a Jewish day school. And so I don't know if you guys caught this, but you know what they call the holy tongue? Lashon HaKodesh. Right, when she's like, this is Lashon HaKodesh, that's Hebrew for holy tongue.
Okay.
It's what we refer to the Hebrew language as. When it references that, like, she had just gotten done destroying cities with her siblings, and then, the Rip appeared and she fled to Prithian, and she, like, got in. That's, I think, a reference to Sodom and Gomorrah, which are the two cities that were destroyed, like, in the Bible for their sins, I think, technically. I like to think that was just more a reference to a different city, but, like, that's an allusion to that. And then the Lamb's Blood. That's a reference to the story of Passover. I don't know if you guys have watched Prince of Egypt.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yes, I do know that one. Yes.
Yeah, so
for reference, our religious knowledge is we went sometimes to a Baptist church with our grandparents. Southern Baptist church, and we laughed in the corner because they kept on saying the blood of Christ, and then we laughed.
Okay.
I would sneak Harry Potter in and read it, and it was I got in a lot of trouble.
I brought novels into synagogue, so I get you. I know nothing about the New Testament, but specifically, if you remember the 10th plague in the Prince of Egypt, they put lamb's blood on their door.
Yeah, like to scare them off.
Hebrews at the time, so that was a sign that these were people that shouldn't be touched by the angel of death. Amryn drinks lamb's blood, and when she goes out and patrols the city after the attack by the ravens, they leave out offerings and anoint.
Yeah.
She's been an angel for the moment I caught her.
I love that.
I love that. Yes.
I think she's an angel of death. Yes. That's what she was. Yeah. I never thought she was an Asteri.
I like that. I like that more. I love the idea that Amryn's just not from the Prithian world. But
yeah, no, this whole Fury. I'm mad we don't know anything about Fury. I'm mad we didn't get to see the Viper Queen transform. I want to punch Ethan in the face just once. I don't get how you know, especially because he coordinated, like, you know, he rejected Sabine and he like went out with the wolves to save people. He was a good guy. And then he's just like, I have no opinions or capacity to solve any problem anywhere. Oh, and the stupid Fender air.
That is what I was like, this is unforgivable, Ethan. No.
It's Sarah, girl, what are you doing? He breaks her out of a bathtub, basically, saves 3 fire sprites, and I love them. They're so cute. And a dragon. The dragon fucks off. The fire sprites are the only useful ones, and then you decapitate the wolf. It was and then the freaking perspective changes every paragraph.
That was a lot.
Nicole was saying,
that was too much for me. I couldn't do that. I had to physically so we did a reactions episode to CC3, and I was so terrified of that outline because I'd listened to the book twice, and I was like, I still could not tell you half of the shit that happens in part 1 and part 2. So I asked my husband, he went out and bought the book, and I'm an audiobook reader. When he came home and boom, dropped this brick on me, I was like, Jesus. That is the only reason I think I understood the book, is because I was able to physically have it in my hands. But then I saw with it physically in my hands, I saw that it was paragraph change. And I was like, oh my God, this is too much. Especially during the Celine download. I was like, can we please just stay with her? Because I do not understand what's happening.
Yeah, the translation being, what the fuck was that? The whole thing should have been. Also, you're out of your mind if you expect me to believe that a woman drops out of the sky with a sword that resonates with the truth teller, and Reese is like, oh no, I'll respect your boundaries. Bullshit. Read her mind.
Yes, I agree.
If he was using them to help translate, I would have totally gone with that. If he's like, here's our language and just beamed it into her head, that's still more respectful just based on the way we understand his magic. But a fucking magic beam? A magic fucking beam? What the hell was that? I thought she was going to drop it and it was going to sprout a beanstalk. What the fuck? I was so mad.
Here's my question, though, is how, because that happened in the Crescent City series. We can assume that this knowledge is going to be have to be known for future ACOTAR books. How do you think Sarah's going to handle that with all of the shit that Azriel and Nesta went through in the cave and the Celine download? And that looks like Racine's sister. That's probably important. Move on. How do you think she's going to deal with that in ACOTAR 6 and beyond?
Well, I like the idea of Nesta reviving the Dusk Court.
Yeah.
She has the tattoo on her. I think that's a great place to start. At this point, though, what I'm worried about is that Bryce had the parasite in her blood and was in the water supply. So I'm scared that stupid fucking parasite is going to be there in Prithian. I don't want to deal with that anymore. I'm kind of hoping that's going to be a missed detail. Because remember, she bled into the water. She's trying to get the midden to follow. She had the parasite. I'm really hoping it isn't compatible or it gets ignored. I'd actually like for that to be a plot hole.
I'm assuming that's going to be a plot hole. I feel like that was Harry got stabbed with the Horcrux killing basilisk and it was like, oops. That's kind of where I'm thinking with that.
I'm fine with that. And I would be so fine with that. In terms of what's next, first of all, the stupid black hole sword system is shit. What? And then it's held open, and the fucking portal's held open with the power of friendship and your ex-girlfriend, your fucking robo ex-girlfriend. What the hell did I read?
Don't forget that he was able to put the mask on because of the magical sex, too.
The magical ejaculation is the reason that he got magical.
Side note, there's no reason why Sandriel needed him to pilot. She was autopiloting. Why was he in there? Why did he get inside of his ex-girlfriend? If I was rescued, it was like, hey, I had to climb inside my ex-partner to save you, I'd have an issue. But in terms of the progression, I have no idea how this is going to go because Crescent City 3 has actually damaged my faith in the series. If somehow, the only thing I can save this is Aelin. I just want Aelin. She's the one with the word marks. We know that word marks are, the only important thing that happened in Crescent City 3 was the Underking, who I think all theorize is Barrow White, by the way. He has confirmed that the mother's name is Word, and he literally refers to her as a cauldron. So I think the cauldron is some physical manifestation of the mother. But we know now that if she's the source of word marks, she has a deep connection to all 3 planes. And if you do mother, word, and cauldron, 3 faces, arguably the triple-faced goddess, I don't know. There's a theory that the Archeron sisters are the triple-faced goddess that the witches worship too. But that would involve a timeline that I don't think Sarah has been keeping up.
I agree with that. Or that at least that they reflected, or I'm not going to say a prophecy because I don't think that it's going to be prophecy-esque. I like that idea. Not that they are the actual embodiment of them, but that they are that representation.
Yeah, I have no idea how this is going to go. I think it's going to be them investigating more of the Dusk Court. I think it's going to be preferably. Remember when I know this was Akawar, that's a lie, Akamaf. When they're doing the Book of Breathings, and Amryn says, "Do not put these 2 together; it'll awaken really terrible things." And then Farrah goes, "What about this?" And then that happens. Something must have been revived. We've seen now that Nesta is capable of killing the unkillable. She could kill fucking Koschei, who has Vasa, which I think might be a plot point there. I want to see more of the Eastern continent. I really do.
Me too. Yeah. That's one of my big things is that I think that because I think that and Lucian is our tie to that world, right? And so there's so much teasing about the continent and all of that. And so I think that in the next book, we are definitely going to get more of the continent. But with that, I think that would mean it would be more Lucian's point of view, which again, I don't think that, but I do think that Azriel will be the main character. And then, like the primary, kind of like how Nesta was in Silver Flames. And then secondary would be like Lucian and Elaine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can see that too.
Yeah.
I might throw Gwen in there too, but I don't know if she's going to go more than 4 POVs for ACOTAR 6. Because jumping 2 to 4 is a lot. I mean, she did how many in Kingdom of Ash and how many in Crescent City 3, so it's not out of the question, but be a big jump.
I do think that for ACOTAR 6, it will, be a lot more focused on like, okay, so we got this information from that crazy lady with the hot pink shoes. And now what are we going to do with this information here in our world versus going out and expanding into the other worlds? Because it's almost like, well, the story got tied up with Crescent City 3 with the Asteri and all of that. So it's like there's no need for the cross worlds anymore in that sense there.
Here's the shtick I have with Throne of Glass is Rifthold is literally called Rifthold. If that doesn't have any fucking meaning in the Maasverse, I'm gonna flip a table. Are Dorian and Manon gonna hop into Prithian? Like, I would love to see Aelin. I would literally poop my pants if Aelin shows up on the page of an ACOTAR book. I would jump for joy. But I do wonder, because of how Bryce ended things with Nesta, is ACOTAR 6 going to be a Nesta book again? I really hope not, because I want to understand Azriel, Lucian, and Elaine, and Gwen as well. Like, I want to understand them more. And if we have to wait fucking 4 more years, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, you just remind me of another point for like why humans are native to Prithian. Remember, they have the beliefs that like iron...
Yes.
Fate, yeah. So I think I think Aralea is the original human place because that's where the fairies are harmed by iron.
Yes.
100%.
Nicole even theorized about that in our very first episode, where it's like, I think that it is actually like, it is real knowledge, but just from a different world that they received that information.
In like the first stretch of chapters, Feyre mentions how there was this dude who painted who engraved markings on the top of their door, and they called it ward markings. And I'm just like, what? Yeah. Okay.
Well, so as you know, everyone's wondering when the next book is going to come out and all of that. Do you have what is your theory for when this book is coming out?
Oh, so ACOTAR 6?
Yeah.
I don't think this year. I would probably say 2025 at the earliest.
I think that she already did one this year, and so why the heck would you have another one come out in the same year?
I wouldn't want another one coming out this year unless it's revealed that like she put no editing into CC3 and a ton of editing into ACOTAR 6, and then it's great. I'm very skeptical.
So I do have a timeline of Sarah's releases since 2015. And that is in 2015, May, she released ACOTAR. September, she released Queen of Shadows. 2016, April, she released Akamath. In September, she released Empire of Storms. 2017, ACOWAR and Tower of Dawn. 2018, Frost and Starlight and Kingdom of Ash. So all of these were basically paralleled between April and May for ACOTAR, and then September for the Throne of Glass series. Yes, Lexi?
I also have a caveat is these were also pre-children for her.
That's good to know. Okay. I'm guessing this is post-children. So we jumped to 2020 where she released House of Earth and Blood. 2021 was Silver Flames. 2022 was Sky and Breath. And now we're in 2023, obviously, with, oh my God, what was the name of that book? Flame and Shadow. There we
go. It was 2024 because it was January.
I forgot that we're not in 2023 anymore. What is time? Anyway, so 2024, obviously, with House of Flame and Shadow. So basically, roughly every year she's released a book. With the Crescent City series, it's been towards the beginning of the year. ACOTAR, it's been towards like spring. And with Throne of Glass, it was always towards September. So my guess is that she's probably not going to release an ACOTAR book. If like the trend is April, May, it will probably be April, May of 2025.
I can get behind that.
Now, she's also been working on it for a really long time, so I don't think it's out of the question if it's later this year, but I think based off the trend, she's releasing one book a year post-children, which makes sense.
which is fair. Can I ask, how do you guys feel about a live action?
I'm all for live action. I know you're super about the animated series, right?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't care which way it goes. If it is animation, then I think that they could do it really cool. I think that they could also, like, getting a little ahead of myself here, but they could play around with animation that we haven't really seen on, I'll say, the big screen in a really popular series. I don't have any good examples, but like, I don't want it to be like, I'll say, cheesy animation, like something that really makes it seem like it comes to life, but not in a cheesy way in that way either. But I do think that with the live action, the way that it could convey some of the really complex emotions that do come with it, I think that, and more like the darkness, I think that live action could, assuming that it's really good actors and that they just go all out with the budget, then I think that would be better conveyed through live action.
The romance stuff might be better. It might be more connective with action, but I do want to point out that the latest Avatar: The Last Airbender show had a $120 million budget, and we got that.
I like it, but I'm also rewatching it had been a few years since I saw the animated version, and so I'm rewatching that right now, and it's like, okay, I can definitely see it, and like it does take a little bit of getting used to with the characters and the acting and things like that. I will say, okay,
I can't get past the act. I'm only finished episode 1. I can't watch it because of the acting. It hurts.
You just watch episode 6. I thought was it 6 or 7? One of those 2 episodes I really liked it. But I will say this, that the way that the live action casting was and how they portray their characters is it's so on point, but it works so well in the animation with like a super serious character and then like a funny one right next to each other and how they interact. And it does not translate well onto the live action in that same way. So even though they are still, I'll say, in their own way, true to the animation character, it doesn't work. This chemistry doesn't work in the same way in live action.
My whole shtick is their breath doesn't fog in the South Pole, and it really bothers me. Their clothing looks brand new, and their fighting looks like tricking instead of actual martial arts choreography, which really bothers me because there are 4 martial arts styles that are supposed to be part of the bending, and they don't catch that at all. Yeah. Also, for $120 million fucking dollars, we got that.
I did not know that was the budget.
Same budget as Dune 2. So I don't know if you guys have seen the second Dune movie.
What? Nicole's seen it.
Yeah, no. Oh, sorry. Dune was, I think, $150 million, and we got Dune 2 versus Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm just saying.
Dune 2 was a masterpiece. It was a fucking.
I heard it was. I still need to see it. I read the book, so I know what happens. But like, I've heard it was fucking phenomenal, and I'm really excited to see it. Yeah, so I'm sorry I just shit on you. No,
it's totally fine because I know that I'm a little bit more in the minority. Like, don't get me started on the Harry Potter films. And I watched it, and like, I probably enjoyed Last Airbender in the same way that other people enjoy the Harry Potter films, which I don't understand how people enjoy those films. I mean, I do, but I don't at the same time.
Wait, are you disliking them because of Rowling or why? Like.
No, that's a whole other thing. But no, I think that the way that they do the books is such a disservice, and like some like the acting can be good and all of that, but like the fact that the actor who played Dumbledore purposefully did not read Harry Potter and decided just to have Dumbledore be his own character, and that is why there was such a disconnect between the book character and him. Like that really bothered me, and just like so many plot holes. And like, yes, I totally understand that book to movie adaptation, like there are going to be differences, but there were fundamental differences that are unforgivable to me. Okay. And so, for instance, my brother-in-law, he had a new girlfriend, and she was really wanting me to like her, and I was meeting her for the first time. And she's like, "Yeah, I hear you love Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter too. I saw all of the films." And I was like, oh, that's not. Oh man, you just said the wrong thing.
Yeah, I can respect that. My only thing is just like when it comes to very high fantasy, I think Game of Thrones was brilliant, and it worked because the magic was just the dragons. You CGI the shit out of the dragons. Everything else is just normal stuff. That's fine. You can't do that if you have characters shape-shifting, sprouting wings, summoning shadows, summoning fire and ice and water wolves, and like. You get characters who are going to be like, you're going to get basically the Hunger Games in terms of the capital citizens and what they look like. You're going to get like incredibly complex makeup and species that you're going to see. Yeah. And gorgeous scenery. I think that'll be better as animated. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen The Legend of Vox Machina.
Oh, from Critical Role?
Yeah. It's fantastic. I've spoken about this a lot where when people ask, it's like a great example of what good animation in an adult setting can do.
Yeah.
It's very fun. It's very fun. And the only thing is, I mean, if you're doing animated and you try to make the sex scenes, you're basically just making porn. But I was just reading porn, so what's the difference? I cannot but feel like any man they cast specifically will just fall off the mark. Though, have you guys seen that Scottish Reese TikTok?
Have I seen
I have,
Scottish
yes.
Reese?
Like, it's just like, it was going to be Jacob Elordi, who I called Elrodi, and I need to apologize, but I totally got his last name wrong. But yeah, Jacob Elordi is a great actor. I think he's very good looking. He's very good at what he does. He's not going to be a 500-year-old female. Like, it's impossible to capture that. And I just don't see how live action can work for a literal fan. Like, it's a male fan. It's a fantasy of what a man could. It's not going to work.
I do agree with you on that, where like everyone's doing their fan casts and whatnot. And I don't think that like they could do the absolute perfect people. They could make it all perfect and it's still going to fall flat just because, again, of expectations. Mm-hmm. And I think that the heavy pressure and expectations on the show is what is stifling we obviously don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I think that's a huge element of why it's being stalled, is because they genuinely don't know what to do to make it worth it for the fans and all of that. So
I don't know if you guys heard, some paparazzi, I guess, fake job, but they found Sarah J. Maas meeting with Margot Robbie, and she had a production company, which I think would be great. But I think you need no-name actors. You need to somehow find extremely beautiful no-name actors, which, like, what are the odds of that?
Don't you live in LA?
Like,
yeah, I was going to say, you're right there, right?
And I would be the Surreal, if anything. So the other 90 characters, let me know. Freaking platforms and paint my face white, and you have the Surreal.
I love it.
I agree. And we can argue the same with Fourth Wing. Like, a lot of people are looking at Fourth Wing. I do think will be better would do really well as a live action, just solely for, oh no, what's happening?
The book series haunts me. I loved the first book. I found it very entertaining, but all the memes with the second one have been like, is Violet's second signet complaining? Because what's going on here? Like,
we talk about that extensively in our deep dive. But I will say, I love the fantasy element of the second book.
Yeah, I think it's very
much. Yes. And it's on character for being 21. Yeah, she's 21 years old, where her world just got turned upside down. But yes, it is very much like the same argument again and again.
It's the whole, like, I'm so frail and my joints hurt, but also I'm a dragon rider who, fights with her bare hands. Like, she wraps her legs and that's her rep. And oh, it's so funny. It's that SpongeBob meme of like, every night I wait until my heart attacks put me to sleep. Like, that's what I get from her. I was born with paper skin and glass bones.
This has been so much fun. Let's start closing out this episode. How can people find you? You mentioned that you're on social media. Tell everyone where they can find you.
So my username is very weird. It's DALECSANDER. It's spelled Dale C. Sander. But that's me on Instagram, on TikTok. I have a Patreon called the Crone Literary Universe for my Crone character. So you can support that there too.
Good.
And I recently started a newsletter about books. So if you want to find it, it's called the Volthocken Times. So you can Google that or just find the links on my page.
And we'll put all the links below for DL of the above.
Go ahead and check out our show notes for all those links. And Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so much fun.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been a great time.
Absolutely.
And friends, that is today's bonus episode.
Next episode is back to our ACOTAR deep dives with episode 5, chapters 25 through 28 on Monday.
Thank you, as always, to our executive producer, Hayden, aka our sanity manager. We love ya.
Be sure to join the Patreon party if you want more content or sign up for our newsletter. Our March newsletter is coming to your inbox soon, so be sure to subscribe in the link in our show notes to get that delivered. And if you're not following us on TikTok and Instagram, what are you doing? Go ahead and give us a follow at Fantasy Fangirls Pod.
Also, do not forget to rate and review today's episode. It is the best thing you can do to help a favorite podcaster of yours out. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, hello. Thank you for seeing our beautiful faces for multiple hours a week. You can go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a beautiful face episode dropped. And of course, most importantly, share this with your fellow Maasverse friends. If you too wanted to throw Ethan Holmstrom into a sunball field and burn it alive, this is a great episode for them to share with Daniel in that fury. Ha, fury, get it?
We love you all so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.